Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and it is December of 2020, and I wish to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, because this is going to go out shortly before the old Christ Mass, and I hope everyone gets something special under the tree brought by the old St. Nicholas. Oh, dearie, dearie me, 2020 has been a hell of a year, but it's been a very instructive year for me, and a very constructive year for me as well. Not only was I finally able to achieve a PTR 91, but I was also able to achieve individual confidence. What might not be readily apparent in the various videos is I suffered a lack of confidence for an inordinately long amount of time, and also a bit of social anxiety. Think Reginald Barclay from Star Trek, and that's kind of what I was like. I wasn't that bad, but I was kind of close. This year, I was finally able to get over that. I was also able to conquer a few inner demons that were holding me back in life. And, well, despite political issues going on in the United States, I'm ready to hit the ground running in 2021. And to me, that's more important than any PTR 91. Well, of equal importance to the PTR 91 that's sitting behind me. Finally getting my confidence where it should have been all along. Finally, conquering some other inner demons that really... One of the things I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, is you need to focus on self-improvement more than anything else. I like to touch on this a lot because the last couple years I've really been focusing on getting myself in order. We can't do anything about what's going on in Washington and all the various state capitals and things of that nature. We can only focus on ensuring that our own lives are as good as we can make them. A lot of stuff was holding me back from actually being happy or from just living in general. And I was finally able to overcome that. And I feel just so much more liberated than ever before. One of the things that I think I want to talk about more than anything else is friendships and relationships again. We all love our friendships and relationships, within reason. Obviously, there's some assholes in either one. But one thing that you have to learn to do is you have to learn to let go of a bad relationship or a bad friendship. One of the things for me is I have a very, very good memory. I can remember, entire conversational sequences, I guess is the best way to put it. I can remember all of that. I can know exactly where I was, what I was thinking at that moment, and all of that. And what that did, and well, I'm glad I have those memories, but what I let those memories do is I let them trap me in the past so I could never move on to the future. I would always think about the old friends long gone, and I would let that just kind of drag me down, because oh, that'll never come back again. The fact is, do you want it to come back? One of the things that also held me back was relationships that fell apart. Not too long ago, I did have a relationship fall apart, and I kind of let it drag me down. It was oh, if only this person would return to my life. The problem with that is, you generally don't want these people to return to your life, because if they left your life, they left your life for a reason. And it would be much better going forward if you found somebody who was more compatible. And then, of course, it gets into other things as well. I've had friends where I've missed them for years, but this year I finally realized, why am I missing them? There were good times, yes, and I can appreciate those. But, well, these friendships ended for a reason. Some friendships will end better than others, but it's often very easy to pine for friendships that were bad. I had a really good friend for a number of years that was very insulting to me. Would call me all sorts of derogatory names, but I would still miss the good days while ignoring the bad days. And it's very easy to do that. It's especially easy to do that when it comes to relationships. It's well, this relationship would have worked if I said this. Well, the relationship should have worked without you saying some sort of magical word. And if you have a relationship that needs you to do X number of things to keep it together, you probably should consider moving on from it, because that means it's a very toxic relationship. A relationship should work without some sort of magical word said. And you shouldn't hold it against yourself if a relationship falls apart because the other person didn't do their part in keeping the relationship going. And that's just something to really keep in mind. And I finally was able to realize that literally just in the last couple of months. I realized, why am I beating myself up about this stuff when it wasn't my fault? I didn't do anything to warrant such, treatment. And it's you know what? I don't need that shit. I can live my own life and be happy with it for its own sake. And that's something that's very important. You know, you hear about the MAGTOWs and stuff like that. I think they're a bit too bitter. I mean, I can understand why, but you need to go your own way. You don't need to follow someone else's ideology. Go your own way. Do your own thing. Be your own person. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to be yourself because someone might object to it or someone might think, oh, that's stupid. You know, you have to live your own life first and worry about what someone else might think way down the line. Now, obviously, there's, some caveats to that. That doesn't mean, run through the streets naked or something or join the Communist Party. But still, the idea is, if you like guns, like me, I know there's some people watching this and think, how dare you own a PTR 91? You're evil. I don't care. It's the same way, it's the same concept of just saying, like, I really don't like Half-Life 2 because I think it's an over-bloated tech demo that lacks any sort of character or any redeeming value. People aren't going to agree with it, but you know what? Say it anyway. You can like Half-Life 2 or hate Half-Life 2 if you want to. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the thing you need to do, instead of watching the news and getting more and more nervous about what President Idiot is going to do, is you need to focus on you. That's what you got to do. Because President Idiot might do one or two things. What are you going to do about it? If you're just, laying in bed being miserable, President Idiot doesn't give a damn. You do give a damn. So get out there and try to make your life the very best it can be. So with all that hippy-dippy crap out of the way for 2020, let's talk about something a little more obvious. PTR motherfucking 1! Oh my god! I never thought I'd be able to pick one of those up, but by trying, I managed it. Oh, and it is a sexy, sexy rifle to say the least, and I cannot wait for that first shots to go up. In fact, I've recorded the video footage for that just now. Alright, so the other thing to point out is new glasses, finally. Went with rounded frames and rounded lenses. These are supposed to be a lot less heavy, and as you can see, they're still pretty thick, but due to the rounded lens design, they are a lot more comfortable. I also got that blue light filter thing that's popular these days, and my overall eye strain headaches have gone down. I like the overall new design. It just kind of gives me a whole new look. For the new year, new me. All right, so new year, new me aside. What do we got, ladies and gentlemen? Why, we have a review coming out before Christmas, and that, of course, is Apocalypse, the Bruce Willis game. I chose to do this for December because I wanted a nice and easy game to do that wasn't going to take me hour after hour after hour editing. I also ended up recording all the gameplay footage for Rage, which is going to come out in January. That game is a game I'm just going to straight up spoil it. I don't recommend it, at all. I know it has its fans, but it is the most disappointing game pretty much I've ever played. Because it starts out crap, and then it gets really good, and then at the very end it just crashes. Just takes a nosedive. It's really quite sad how bad that... It's not even... The thing is, it's not even that the game gets bad at the ending. And that's the thing. A bad game is actually better than what Rage does. A bad game you can make fun of. What Rage does is it goes from, yeah, it's okay, to, oh wow, this is really good, to, we need an ending, sir, so let's just end it with, a cliffhanger, and bam! No boss fight. No villain. Just you shoot some people in an arena. The end. So I can't wait to just kind of rip into that game, because it is really the worst id Software game. There's a few minor redeeming things, but it really is just, it's a disappointing game. There's games worse than it, but I think the disappointment that it creates really kind of overshadows any qualities that it has that are actually good. I'm already doing the AVP 2010 Let's Play as of this recording. I think this is going to go up a day or two after I record it, so you'll have seen the first episode, but not the second. AVP 2010 is pretty bloody okay. The thing is, the story isn't very good, but the gameplay is. It's one of those instances of, it's definitely better than I remember. The graphics are way better than a lot of games from 2010. What's kind of interesting is, I think Rage came out in 2011, and it looks like shit in comparison to AVP 2010. I think the best way they could have fixed AVP 2010 is make the story not so shit. That's really the only problem. The gameplay is still the frantic, AVP gameplay that I absolutely adore. That's one thing I want to point out. I'm actually in 2021 going to do a retrospective of AVP 2010 with my new mindset that it isn't the worst game ever. I'm still going to be critical of it. It is better than Aliens Colonial Marines, but there are a few places it could have been better. But one of the things it gets right is it makes the enemy fightable but still difficult. There's very few games that do that. Pretty much it's just the AVP games. Because a lot of other first-person shooters are just slaughtering enemy after enemy after enemy, and then you got a boss fight that's kind of exciting, and then it's just more slog. Whereas the Aliens vs. Predator games, including AVP 2010, it's like a single enemy can kill you if you're not paying attention. And I love that. Because most of the time it's just you're slaughtering Xeno after Xeno after Xeno, but you know that if you fuck up, it's going to kill you, and that is really cool. One other game that's like that I'm actually playing right now as of this recording is Terminator Resistance. That is a damn fine game. It's kind of funny that it was made by the people who made that abominable Rambo game. There's actually a callback to that game in Terminator Resistance. He's a man, not a god! Come on, comrades! There's actually a reference to that, and it was pretty hilarious. But Terminator Resistance is essentially Terminator meets Far Cry with a little sprinkling of Fallout here and there. There's actual lines of dialogue, and you can actually talk. The main character is kind of generic, but I like him. He's just sort of, your all-American kid kind of thing, trying to save the world. I like that kind of thing. I like the good old-fashioned hero stuff on occasion. Combat is absolutely excellent, because when you actually fight Terminators, and early in the game, you can't. Like, you've got, like, an M16A1, no XM5... Actually, I don't think SS-109 was even invented by 1997. And so you're not fighting Terminators. You got to hide from them. And it's only until later that you get a plasma rifle. And even then, they can shred you fast. And if you get up close, I think they can insta-kill you, if I'm not mistaken. But every battle with the Terminator is tough. And you kind of like, should I shoot him? Should I just try to sneak away? That is awesome. It's definitely an Alpha Prime game for sure. And the story is equal parts serious and humorous on occasion. It's just a damn good game. I mean, it is a very surprising game, to say the least. If you haven't played Terminator Resistance, I highly, highly recommend it. Let's see. There was another first-person shooter I was going to talk about, but I can't remember what it is at the moment. Oh, well. Thumbnails and things of that nature are going to be commissioned on a pretty much per video basis going forward. So no more of the old 2010 thumbnails. Pretty much all that's going to be phased out in 2021. It's kind of sad to see them go, but hey, whatever. It's kind of funny that I used that for so long, but, well, these days you got to have thumbnails that stick out a bit more. And so, yeah, I'm going to have the clickbait. Did the PTR 91 go woke? No, maybe it won't get that bad. Speaking of things going woke, Mandalorian, which never went woke, but what's really funny is I remember a video that came out around the time Mando first got released back in 2019 of, did the Mandalorian go woke? And literally that was just a clickbait title. It had nothing to do with the actual video's content. I won't ever get that bad, but that is something that I'm reminded of. But yeah, Boba's back in Mando. I am really quite pleased to see that the people behind The Mandalorian actually care about Star Wars and the Star Wars fans. That we actually have Boba goddamn Fett. And he's actually cool. He's, zipping around on his jetpack. He's fucking just murdering stormtroopers. He's not just killing them, he's fucking murdering them. I mean, him just dragging that gaffy stick like a fucking horror movie villain was just awesome. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where the show goes. I'm actually tempted, and this is kind of a heretical statement to make, I'm actually somewhat tempted to look at the CGI Clone Wars series, if only because Ahsoka, or how the hell I pronounce her name, actually is entertaining. I want to know more about that particular character. I want to see if that character actually does anything good. She does not make any sense. You'll never convince me of that, but I'm tempted to see where she kind of came from. It is one of those things, like, how does Anakin have all these secret apprentices, but they never were mentioned, like, ever? But yeah, Grand Admiral Thrawn being fully canonized. I sincerely hope they don't ruin him. There's already some videos coming out saying that Grand Admiral Thrawn is the Thanos, except he's not really. Grand Admiral Thrawn is a top-tier villain for sure, but if anything, the person that came the closest to reconquering the Empire was actually the Reborn Emperor during the Dark Empire. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to go with that plot line. I bet they, like, mix a little bit of that in, though. I bet Thrawn was going to do pretty much what Palps did, because everyone hates the whole Reborn Emperor concept now. Thank you, J.J. Abrams. Even though the Reborn Emperor concept was done really, really well in the Dark Empire series, there's actually a animated YouTube series of Dark Empire. They actually animated the comic, and they're using the audio drama for all the dialogue and sound effects. It's pretty bloody good. It uses the same animation style that Star Wars The Holiday Special used, and it works remarkably well. Let's see. There's one last thing I wanted to mention, and I cannot for the life of me remember it. You got a Mando. Well, that'll have to do for now. I am GeneralLotz, and if I remember what I was going to say, I'll mention it in the next live stream. But until then, I'm going to wish you good, PTR 91, or whatever makes you happy.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon so that I can continue bringing you this great content.